Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Sasheen. Welcome to Women in Transition Vlogcast. I am your host, author. I'm not a coach. However, I am about to run a webinar, a workshop where I talk about my way of helping my clients get from unfocused to free. Because y'all know here, we're all about freedom and peace. Okay, so today I want to briefly talk to you about why you need to drop the struggle and just book the flight. Just book the flight, ma'am. Just do it. There is a lot of up and down in the ether and the atmosphere. We're not going to talk about that today. What we're going to talk about today is something very practical because a lot of women that I'm talking to are like, I don't know, I don't have time to figure out visas and da 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 da, and how long can I stay? And what if I'm not ready to just like expat for life? No one says you need to expat for life. But right now, so many of us are caught in a web of not of our making. But remember, the female of the species is the one who actually creates the web. We also can dismantle that. So I'm asking you to think there. I'm asking you to think today about where could you go in 5 hours? I have this idea. I used to live in New York on the East Coast, and I miss it dearly. But for the better part of a decade, I've had to fly my son back from visiting his father on the West Coast, which from one coast to the other is approximately a 6.5 hour flight. And I used to remind people that I don't mind long flights because I had to take it 2 or 3 times a year. And on the East Coast, I was literally 6 hours from London. I could get from JFK to Heathrow in the same amount of time it took me to get from New York to Washington State. If you're not ready to move, but you just need a break, there are so many places that you could just get up and go for the week. Had a good friend on a whim go for the weekend from Kansas to, I believe they went to Guatemala for the weekend. There are a lot of countries where US passport holders at the moment, and this is really key, at the moment, still don't need a visa to go temporarily for a vacation. And that's what I'm talking about today. Now, I am team, it's time to move your life someplace else where your cortisol levels can drop and that you can begin to live a better, much more softer, much more fuller life. We'll talk about that on July 18th, which is when the workshop, pop this up here, hang on it. Hang on a minute. Oh, which is when the workshop is scheduled for. But if you're not ready to relocate your life, but you are ready to relocate your body for a while, there are a lot of places that you can go that are within a day's flight, half a day's flight, if that. If you don't want to spend hours and hours to get there because you're just going for the weekend and you don't want to spend 12 hours on a flight because that's a long way to go for 3 days, then go someplace that's within a 5 hour flight or even a 4 hour flight. The Caribbean, Mexico, Canada, depending on where you live, depending what coast you're on, there are a lot of places that you can get to fairly rapidly that would give you the first step. Because I think what's happening right now, at least what I see happening, is that the noise isn't dying down. Like there's just too many things happening. So keeping a hold of the piece that I'm encouraging you to keep a hold of is just hard because there's just too much noise in the system. So first, let's talk about taking a break from the noise, just a little bit of a break. Because the struggle to stay on top of everything is wearing you down. And I know it's wearing you down because, in case you haven't noticed, I haven't posted anything in about a week and a half. Because when I get overwhelmed with so many things, I just take a break. Time to take a break. And so that's what I do. But I'm back at it because this workshop is coming up and it's really important for me to talk about it. And because we're halfway through the year, the first year. And I am more committed now than I even was last November when I put out the new rules of engagement. In convincing women, especially Black women of the Gen X generation over the age of 45, to stop the struggle and find their peace. And that peace, I believe, can be found outside of the confines of the box that most of us are living in. And even if you are not, again, ready to run off into the great blue yonder, I do think it's time for you to put some stamps in your passport so that you can put some extra love on your heart. How many of you are waking up to the same routine every day right now, just kind of going, if I can just get through this day, if I can just get through this day. And I am telling you, get my phone here. I am telling you, you can go to Candor, Mexico, Bahamas, Barbados, Dominica, Jamaica, Belize, Costa Rica, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Peru, Japan, Singapore, Botswana, South Africa, Fiji, Palau. So many countries will take your little blue passport without you needing to get a visa, which means all you need to do is buy a plane ticket and then book yourself a hotel room. I'm not going to tell you to book an Airbnb, even though I know they're trying to rebrand their images. I just hear too many horror stories. And honestly, if I'm going to have to do half the work for an Airbnb and cleaning my own stuff, I'm going to get a hotel room. At least then I get room service and housekeeping. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, I'm bougie and I stand by it. But my point is, there are lists of countries. I just put in what country can I get to that doesn't require me to get a visa to go? Because if I have to figure out how to navigate the State Department website to get a visa, it could take me weeks. What if I want to go tomorrow? What if I just want to go tomorrow? So if I just want to go tomorrow, for me, I'm going to Mexico because I can get there tomorrow, or I'm going to Canada because honestly, I am right in the middle of the country, so I am equidistant from either one of those borders. But again, when I lived in New York, I was very cognizant that I am the same amount of hours from Europe as I am to the other side of the country that I live in, because we live in a very big country, and sometimes we forget that we can fit other countries inside the one that we live in, and there would still be room. And though the ocean is big, plane travel is fantastic. So I am encouraging you to really think about, where could you take yourself for the weekend? Please, 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 for the love. I understand there's a potential recession looming. We're in it. I get that there are tariffs. I got it. I understand that eggs are still expensive and going up because the dipshit in the White House ain't gonna do a damn thing about it. I get all of those things. But I also know, and I'm going to keep reminding you out there who are feeling guilty about this, what is happening is not going to affect everyone equally. And Black women's resilience also means resilience on our pocketbooks. So it might seem weird that women who are leading the way right now in the number of layoffs, because of thanks to some of the policies that companies are having, are still going out there, going to concerts in other countries. I was on Threads watching Black women sisters who are at concerts, who went to the Beyonce concert in the US and then went to a Beyonce concert in Europe. I'm watching women go to the Kendrick Lamar concert in the US and also then flew to Germany to go to the Kendrick Lamar concert. And people are like, how are they affording? Because Black women have a tendency to put ourselves first in in some important ways, not enough ways, which is why I'm talking. But in some important ways, we have learned over the past decade, and it's probably taken us about a decade to figure it out, that our sanity requires us to give ourselves permission to do things that other folks are going to talk bad about us while we're doing it. And what I'm here to tell you is that I don't care if they're talking bad about you. Buy the ticket to see the concert in another country and go. Get your kid and drag them off to Disneyland, Japan. Do not take those kids to Florida because Florida is turning into a third world country. Take them to Disneyland, Japan. If you live on the West Coast, why don't you just keep going? If you live on the East Coast, take them to Disneyland Paris. If you really want to go to Disneyland, or you want to give your kids the experience of going to Disney, other countries have a Disney. If you just want, as I like to say, do you want to see the tulips bloom in Holland? How about drinking champagne in Champagne? How about having beautiful lemons overlooking the Amalfi Coast? and limoncello freshly made? How about eating bolognese in bolognese? The possibilities are endless for you to reset. And it doesn't mean that you have to go and stay, but it does mean that until you are ready to drop the struggle, the idea that if you don't stay here and fight, 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 then we're never going to win, win, win. I want you to look around you. And one of the things that I think is important for me to say before I continue, part of Life Reimagined is for women who for whom the struggle of the moment is the fight of their lives, but they just don't know which direction that they need to go. I personally am not am amazed at some of the women that I've talked to who's like, I respect the fact that your fight for us is for peace and my fight is on the front lines. And I love and respect those women. And so if you're one of those women, I love and respect you. And I want you to know that I still want your peace to be the most important thing. Even as you are strategizing how to help this country get out of the hole that it's rapidly descending into. Even when it feels like the most important work that you can do right now is the work of saving this country. We see you, we hear you, and we love you. And for the women for whom that is not their path, we see you too. It is completely legitimate and okay to be like, but that's not my fight. I just need to figure out how to uncouple myself from the guilt of feeling like I should do more for a country that doesn't want anything from me anyway. We see you too. We hear you and we love you. And so I think it's important as we talk about the struggle, and I want you to drop the struggle, you may need to drop every struggle and focus on the one that you can actually make an actual difference fighting. And or you may need to just drop the struggle, the idea of struggle and the reality of struggle and create a life for yourself elsewhere. I'm voting for the second one, but if the first one is who you are invited to the party too. I love this show called Death in Paradise. It's a murder mystery. I'm really into murder mysteries. And it has a predominantly Black cast, which I also love, though it is an English um, show, and the main character is an English detective from England, and it's generally. Though I think they've changed it. I haven't watched it recently. Anyway, the point is, it takes place on this little island called Saint Marie, and I love the idea of it. Do I want to live there? I lived on a small island before. I know the drawbacks. So I know how romantic it can appear and how in reality it may not be as romantic as it looks. But my point is, I keep thinking to myself, there is going to come a moment where I'm going to find myself living on an island again. I lived on an island in New York. I lived on Long Island. I love island living. Not every island is created equally, right? But I'm kind of an island girl. I like cities on islands. I like islands with characters and towns and all that kind of stuff. But I love being surrounded by water. I see myself eventually returning to island living. Where do you see yourself? I see myself planting the seeds of my future, my child's future, in soil where it may grow a whole nother branch of my family that I'm never going to even be aware of because I'll be long gone. But the seeds that I plant now may yield a tree in soil that now feels foreign, but by the time that tree bears fruit, may just feel like home. And so I just want to encourage you to not struggle so hard against the thing that might be calling to you, especially right now when there's so many things that think they that need that there are so many things that think it needs your attention. But the reality is everything does not actually need your attention. Fewer things need your attention than you realize. And by looking around and going, where am I struggling to keep a hold of something that is desperately trying to pull me in, but I really just want to let it go. It's not mine. I don't want it anymore. By taking a moment and stepping into that question, you can begin to drop some of the struggle, and you might find that short list of countries that you don't need a visa for to go visit for, say, the weekend or a week or longer begins to sing a little bit louder for you, begins to feel a lot less out there. I mean, imagine if you just spent the weekend in Guadalajara. Imagine if you just decided on a whim, to go visit Niagara on the Canadian side, just for the weekend, just to see what happens, just for shits and giggles. How much would you exhale if you were no longer fighting against a desire for peace and instead embraced the idea that peace can be had and it's not a crime to have it, even if the world is on fire? That's all I have for the moment. July 18th, the Life Reimagined workshop is coming. You're going to start seeing more about it. It is 1 hour. I'm offering it to the first 10 people. Get a seat for free. You're going to see the sign up coming tomorrow. And once the link drops live, I already have 4 names of people who want to be on the waiting list. So they're going to get that link first. But the first 10 seats are free, but I'm taking a maximum of 15 because it was growing a little faster than I thought it would. But the first 10 seats, the first 10 spots, those are free and up for grabs starting tomorrow. Click like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's struggling right now. For someone who is looking around going, but what am I supposed to do? Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm at this stage in my life. I'm supposed to be settling down, or I'm supposed to be helping people. I'm supposed to be trying to put the fires out. But all I really want to do, Dr. Sasheen, is sip my ties. All I really want to do, Dr. Sasheen, is go get beautiful clothing made in Korea because they have beautiful silks and I love them. That's a thing. There are women who fly to foreign countries to go shopping, not for huge, elaborate, expensive things, but because I can buy the same housewares in China for a fraction of the price in a plane ticket and a vacation and good food for about the same price of buying it stateside. Something to think about. Click like, subscribe, and share. Get on the waiting list for Life Reimagined, and I will talk to you very soon. In fact, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.